What is going on, everybody? Welcome back here to the Marvel Roundtable. On this installment of the Marvel Roundtable, we are diving into one of, if not quite possibly, the most popular MCU movie in Phase 4. One that has had a ton of hype, and a movie that was technically never supposed to happen, as Tom Holland once again dons the web-slinging Avenger known as Spider-Man, as we're going to see him tackle not only new villains, sort of, new enemies, sort of, and new allies, sort of, as we see Tom Holland take on all this craziness in Spider-Man No Way Home, right here on the Marvel Roundtable. And what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Marvel Roundtable right here on the Horny Goat YouTube channel and the Horny Goat Podcasting Network. Of course, we can listen to us on all your favorite podcasting platforms from. You guys know me, I'm Conor, a.k.a. Mr. Marvel 613, and of course, it is the Marvel Roundtable, the show where we deep dive into each and every single show and movie connected into the MCU. Of course, I am your host for this evening, but I'm not alone. I'm joined with me by the wonderful members and the cohorts of the Horny Goat crew. I've got with us, of course, everyone's favorite bear from upstairs, Canadian basement, and the power couple themselves, JP and the tattooed mama herself, Heather. How you doing, fam?
I feel like shit.
I was waiting to see how direct you were going to be about that.
We were supposed to do something else tonight, but I apologize. I'm just not feeling up good. It is my birthday tomorrow, but I am feeling absolutely horrible. I blame the 3-year-old that lives in this house. She's the one that got me sick. So.
They are walking petri dishes. I mean, I have 2 kids myself, and I want, like, they'll cough in your mouth to tell you they love you, and you just be like, I feel like I'm gonna die, and it's just because, like, I gotta tell you a secret, Daddy. Like, disgusting.
It's as the meme goes. Is that for years and years I was so healthy, and then they thought I had a really good immune system. Just turns out I was really good at avoiding people that like to sneeze directly into your eyeballs.
Yeah. Don't fucking shit.
Numerous times.
Oh my god.
Hey, Wandy, what's going on, man?
You did it. Like, oh my god, Jesus. How you holding up, basement?
I'm doing pretty good. I was kind of like JP yesterday in the daytime because I saw my nephew a couple days ago for Canadian Thanksgiving. And yeah, every time I fucking come back, man, it's like a certain amount of sickness comes back with me. It only lasted like a day, thank God, but man, it was kind of rough.
I don't get why. I mean, I don't know if it's like the school conditions or whatever it is, but like kids are just always
they're just sick all the time.
They're always fucking sick. Hey, this Lego has been an orifice in a child's body. We don't know which one. We're not going to bother testing it, but you might want to test yourself. Like, what?
I did test myself for COVID. I am negative, so
good. Thank God. Last thing.
Positive for AIDS.
Well, I actually leave on a trip on the 13th to Kansas. So
are you gonna invade other people's places in Kansas, or what? Business
the
or pleasure?
invitation was put out,
and I put it out there, possibly.
Ooh,
but
I feel a crossover.
That's probably just gonna be having a couple of drinks or whatever, and
with a baseball bat. Oh yeah, with a couple. Yeah,
potentially having wild man sex.
That'd be another cookie sheet, but no. So yeah, I have to go down there for work, but yeah. So.
Awesome. Appreciate everybody joining us live in the chat here. We've got, of course, Cody. We got Alpha. We've got a Wandy joining us, new subscriber. Appreciate it, Wandy. Much appreciated. We do all sorts of fun, crazy fun stuff here, whether it's gaming, the No Bucks Given podcast, and of course the Marvel Roundtable, where I drag my friends through hell and back, making them watch every single thing in the fucking MCU. So.
This guy.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm wearing a Marvel hat whatsoever. It's definitely not me that was
I'm telling you right now, once we get to She-Hulk, I will figure out how to send a pellet gun bullet through the internet wires.
You don't need to send a pellet gun bullet. Actually, the one thing you only need to send, I agree with this with any of your enemies, a card with glitter in it. That's all you need.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? That's all you fucking need.
The glitter bombs, the best ones are the ones from eatadick.com. Because they have little glitter that's shaped like a dick and a cock and balls.
How did you wind up there?
I've seen ones that dissolve. So if you don't catch them all in time, yeah, they just get all sticky and like, it's not college days. The point is though, yeah, those are the worst ones to send. So the pellet gun may not be necessary, but the
and I do have your address.
I'll just shotgun you to death.
But
we have a package for you. What?
To answer your question, coworkers and I, when we worked at Harley, were thinking of sending one to our GM. So
I did send one to one of my bosses, but that's another. We'll save that for No Bucks Give another time. But of course, it is the Marvel Roundtable, so we're talking everything Marvel in here. If you guys haven't checked out any of the other movies or shows we've talked about, link is in the description for all the playlist for all the other episodes we've done. And we're actually getting. I know I've said this a couple of times, but now it's actually starting to feel like it. We are getting dangerously close to catching up to everything in the MCU. After this episode, we have 6 projects left. Only 6. I have not seen the new Werewolf by Night, so I don't know how it quite ties into things yet. We'll probably go past that one from what I've heard. It's not a major influence.
It's a one shoot, so
yeah. So,
it's Halloween. It's something for Halloween.
But
the name is stupid as shit to me. But
well, it's based off of a comic, but obviously, fucking that was the stupidest thing I ever said on this fucking
day,
show.
Man by night.
No, God, that was not the stupidest
werewolf
thing you have ever said. I'm sure there's something you said back in high school that would surpass that.
You channel. Really overestimate me. But we're almost caught up. We have only 6 of these projects left until we're caught up to Black Panther. Obviously, She-Hulk is just wrapping up this week, which I know Heather personally can't wait to review that one. And then we've got a couple other movies and shows in between. So we'll try to do these as fast as possible in terms of catching up to them. But we're getting close. We're close to the end. This is the last one from 2021, and then next time, which is Moon Knight, which I'm really looking forward to too, will be the first one we do that we've actually done since we started this fucking thing at the beginning of the year. It's just mind blowing to me that we were able to do this in basically a year's time. I'm just saying, like, I know there's so many projects, but like, holy shit.
Well, we were able to do that because we switched from every other week to every week because we realized we really don't need that much time to watch these movies and actually retain everything.
Yeah, thank God for those 6-episode seasons. But this one is one that I think we're probably going to spend a pretty good amount of time on because this one has and had a lot of hype going into it, which is Spider-Man No Way Home. And there is a lot to dissect with this movie, I think, in a lot of different ways. But before we get too hardcore into it, we did throw a chat real quick, or a poll in the chat. A little bit different. I said everyone's thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle, or just didn't like it. Of course, you can also download these on your favorite podcasting platform, too, so make sure you check us out. Link is in the description. But I'm going to throw this to everybody here first. Same old as we always do with every one of these Marvel shows and TV movies. I can't speak today.
With the advent of Disney Plus, that's essentially what they are now, so you're not far off.
So, without spoiling too much about the movie, what did you guys think? Your overall thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home?
Basement, you go ahead first. I always go first on this one.
It to me was overhyped. The thing is with this movie, and I can tell you right now, seeing it in theater when it first released, day one, would have made me appreciate it a lot more. But now, this is why it's going to be kind of interesting, because we're going to get your perspective that was in that boat, and then we're going to get mine and Heather's, which was not.
Yeah.
So a lot, and I looked in the chat, and what I want, you said at the very beginning, is what I agree with 100%. Movie will age poorly. As much as I liked it, it was pure nostalgia. It really, really relies on nostalgia and is not very well written. I think it's one of the worst written movies that I've watched for Marvel. It's in the lower half for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Iron Man 3 or Captain Marvel is still the worst written.
There's some, like, the way I look at this movie, there's some fun set pieces, but they definitely knew what they wanted to do and what they wanted to push, and everything else took the back burner to getting there.
Yeah,
so I still thought it was like okay,
right?
But it definitely wasn't like when this thing came out, or even after it, they're like best Marvel movie ever made and all this. I'm like, what the fuck were you smoking?
I didn't see this movie, but I will say this. This is why I have problems with Marvel, because what Basement just said is exactly why I just this Marvel movie is the best Marvel movie ever. Is it though?
This is why I like this is why I wanted to do this series, because this to me, I mean, obviously Endgame and Infinity War had like a lot of successes and hype, and I think amongst all of us, even the lows of it, those movies held up pretty decently for their hype. Maybe a little overhyped in some cases, but I think they were still pretty solid. This one's kind of the opposite, in what, like, to kind of back up what Basement's saying, and this is exactly why I wanted to do this series, was because I wanted to see, like, when you clear all the hype away, when you blow all the smoke, do these things still hold up? I mean, what about you, Heather? What were your overall thoughts on it?
Overall, the one thing Basement and I both kept saying at the very beginning of this, because we watched this in two halves. We watched the first half, which was everything leading up to the nostalgic version. Mm-hmm. One thing we kept saying was, this feels like the video game that you are currently playing for the channel.
Doing very poorly.
Because you had the mention of Feast. You had the mention of Feast in there and all of that. And it's just like, he has to go do this, he has to go do that, he has to go do this, and all while trying to figure out his own problems. It's like, this is the video game.
It's such a video game plot.
That's one thing that we kept going back to with it. And even when we got to the last half of it, it's just like, this is not a movie. This is a video game. And that's where it should have stayed. And they should have done something different for the movie itself. And frankly, I do agree with Awandi. This movie is not going to age very well, because until they add all of the Spider-Man material, and that includes Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, to Disney Plus.
Don't get me started on that.
Yeah, I know. Until they add that, and if people get to watch it, the people who haven't seen those Spider-Mans are not gonna fucking know what the fuck is going on.
I can't remember if I said it in the group chat that we have on Twitter, or if I said it here, or when I said it, or to whom, because concussion. But one thing I said was, this is one of those cases where Marvel has this is the turning point for Marvel, the MCU, as far as leaning too heavily into the fan base, and this was clearly a love letter to the Spider-Man films. If you watched every live action Spider-Man movie up until this point, the 3 Tobey Maguires, the 2 Andrew Garfields, and then everything with Tom Holland in it, you'll fucking love it, because you'll get a lot of references that you obviously recognize the characters and stuff and blah, blah, blah. And it makes me curious that if, like Heather said, if you never saw any of the other live-action Spider-Man movies, would it still have as much of an impact?
Oh.
And it won't. Specifically, 2 or 3 key scenes in it, obviously towards the end, spoilers.
Especially at the end.
Yeah. So to me, that's when I'm like, okay, now where's this going to go? Like, and then that's why I get worried about the MCU sometimes, with it being so massive and so big. We're now, 30, I think we're going close to 40 movies total, or between the shows and everything. So it's like, yes, you can make references to things in the past, but now you're going to start having this big divide between your casual fans and then the diehards who have been there since the beginning.
They want, literally.
See, the problem with this movie is, it seems more like a follow-up to the Sony stuff than it does a third installment of the current fucking Spider-Man.
Yes.
It like really, and not in every way that it's written. Character doesn't, like, the character's completely different. All the characters are fucking different.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that we'll get to that.
It's in like no man's land for me.
It's
like,
a weird one. It is very weird. If you're looking at a bigger picture, for sure. So when it comes to the pre-production stuff, this is the only couple things I'm going to mention is 2 major parts about this as far as the pre-production side of the movies. The first is the fucking box office record that they fucking smashed. It became the highest grossing film of 2021, which you can't really, that's not really much of a to balk at, because obviously with COVID still coming in the recurring stages, we didn't really see a lot of movie releases until after like August. So it became the highest grossing film of 2021, the 6th highest grossing film of all time, the highest grossing Spider-Man film of all time, and then of course, as I mentioned, a bunch of other box office records, mostly revolving around the fact that it was released during like post-pandemic time. $1.916 billion made in this movie. So you can't say that the hype didn't fucking live up to it, if anything, for the fucking the box office numbers. Now, obviously, the big other story that I wanted to mention as far as the pre-production side of this is that this movie was not going to fucking happen. Now, if you guys don't recall this, or if you guys didn't hear me from when I mentioned this about Spider-Man Far From Home, Far From Home was supposed to be the contractual last time we saw Spider-Man in the MCU, which baffled the fuck out of me considering the ending. You literally drop a major fucking ass bombshell, which at this point in time never happened, with the world knowing that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. So I'm like, how the fuck did they, like, what? That makes no sense. Why would you drop such a massive bombshell and then like, oh, he's just not going to be in the MCU? I get contracts and shit like that, but yeah, this was not supposed to happen. This was not, the Spider-Man Far From Home was supposed to be, at the time, the last time we saw Spider-Man mentioned or referenced, at least majorly, in the MCU. Now, as far as everything after that, what happened was, once this leak got out, the power of the internet took over, including, apparently, this is a story according to him, Tom Holland drunk dialing Kevin Feige, asking him to make a third Spider-Man movie. And apparently drunk dialing your boss does have its advantages, because fuck, it fucking happened. Now, I'm going to throw this to you guys. I would have been bullshit if Far From Home was the end of Spider-Man. I'm not saying No Way Home is the best, but like, fuck, man.
Far From Home, if that was the end, and then they didn't do anything with Spider-Man, or at least an Avenger movie with it involving that, I would have given up completely on the MCU.
I feel like Spider-Man, his 2 outings prior to this movie were both, for me, kind of underwhelming. There's things I liked in them. There's things I didn't. I found he was better used when he was part of the bigger cast.
Yep.
With the Captain America movie or Civil War and the Avengers movies. Because he can get grating.
Like, himself, yes.
Yeah.
Like, you need a strong cast around him, and that's what pissed me off about the first 2 movies, because he had his friend, the Asian dude, and Mary Jane, who was sorely underutilized in 2 movies. It was like, it was all like just bit parts. They had JB Smoove and his the other teacher. JB Smoove. But it was amazing. Like, but it's just like, there was not enough of anything else, and Tom Holland couldn't do it for me.
Yes. Well, so the thing was, I know Wandy said they think he says Tom Holland signed up for 3 more Spider-Man movies. I don't know if that's the case. I know that they obviously did a 1 more picture deal for this. But the point is that this movie was not supposed to happen. And, I thought Homecoming was okay. I thought Far From Home was a better step towards what I wanted in a Spider-Man movie, but still not quite what I wanted. But for me personally, No Way Home, I will, trust me, I will be going into what I thought was wrong with it in a little bit. Believe you me. But man, it was a huge step in the right direction for a lot of reasons for me personally compared to Far From Home. But my point is that if Far From Home was the end of Spider-Man in the MCU, yeah, it would have been a huge letdown. I'll even go far as to say, and this might piss some people off, this might be a hot take, but fuck it. If we are told that we will never see Spider-Man in the MCU again after No Way Home, I wouldn't be too upset about it. I think as far as like the storytelling of Spider-Man in the MCU, like bigger picture, I would take the ending of this movie versus definitely the fucking ending of Far From Home, because at least No Way Home, while not perfect at doing it, does wrap up a lot of shit for Peter Parker. So that's just my opinion. I do see also we got Tim joining us in the chat. What's up, Tim? Yeah, I'm glad this movie at least got made, because if we ended with Far From Home, then no. fuck no. But that's really the only two big things I wanted to mention about the pre-production side of things. So with that being said, let's get right into the thick of things with the actual Spider-Man No Way Home movie. I almost said Far From Home. I'm going to fuck this up so bad today.
I'm surprised you haven't yet.
Me neither. Seriously. So
all I hear is home constantly.
Which, I don't know where the home thing came from, too. I don't know where they decided to just keep. Somebody said the next one's going to be Spider-Man Homeless. I mean, it's possible. But
That'd
anyway.
be fucking hilarious, because where we see him at the end of this movie, it kind of
exactly.
fits.
Pretty close.
So we don't waste any fucking time following the events of Spider-Man Far From Home, because 1 week after Quentin Beck's attacks in Europe and subsequent framing of Spider-Man for his murder, Spider-Man's civilian identity as Peter Parker is revealed to the world. Parker and MJ flee to his apartment, reuniting with his Aunt May and Happy Hogan. With the apartment surrounded by the Department of Damage Control, Parker, MJ, Aunt May, and Ned Leeds are interrogated but ultimately released without charge, with Peter's name being eventually cleared with the help of a very special, very good lawyer. What's his name? Matt Murdock. That's right. Parker, MJ, and Leeds return to high school, but their university applications are rejected due, of course, to recent controversy. So the first thing I got to say is I do love that the beginning of this tries to, not completely obviously, but it does try to wrap up a lot of the smaller loose ends of this whole thing happening. I mean, obviously, it's still a big fucking deal that Spider-Man's identity is revealed. And the one thing I actually liked about this is that it's not like Spider-Man's sort of instantly on the run, because it is right after Far From Home. But I do love that it takes a little bit of its time to kind of like let some things breathe, let some things get like, oh yeah, that would be a fucking problem if that happened. Oh yeah, that would be a cool thing. That would be a bad thing if that happened. Did anybody else pop for seeing Charlie Cox come back as Matt Murdock in that scene, or was I the only one?
I like his inclusion in it, and I think I would have if I didn't already know.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of the problem that I'm gonna say, like the difference perspective is, I knew fucking 90% of the shit that was going on. So going into it, it's more like, oh, how are they going to use him? And I actually like this use of him, because it's small, it's subtle, and it doesn't go beyond introducing him as a lawyer.
Right. And he keeps it at, I'm just a very good lawyer. And I love that. I mean, it's the perfect way to inch his way into the MCU.
He catches a brick, and it's like Spider-Man knows there's something special about him, but they don't go beyond that.
Well, more importantly,
which is a good way.
More importantly, he catches the brick before Spider-Man does, because if you look, they both go to catch it, and Spider-Man's cut off guard by like, "How did you do that?" I'm a very good lawyer, and I think that we talked about this with Hawkeye, with the introduction, or the MCU introduction of Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. Little introductions or reintroductions like that, I'm fucking loving that.
As long as it's like a drip fed to us in these other things, and then you kind of like get the whole shebang when their own show or movie comes out.
Right.
And I think they did a good job of that in this one. Also, this is where Spider-Man belongs. He belongs street level with Daredevil. The biggest mistake they made was, and they try to reverse it in this one, and they do reverse it, I guess, is outing him to the world. It didn't even need to happen, in my opinion. Because it's just like a stumbling block for them that they created for almost no reason. I know that they build the storyline of this around it, but it's so terribly handled.
Well, we'll get there. But no, I mean, the idea of the Department of Damage Control coming in, I did also love from the trailer too. He's like, it wasn't me who killed him, it was the drones that you own. And it's like, fuck off. Like, you pretentious lawyer. But my point is that, like, the whole setup with this, even the idea of Peter, MJ, and Ned getting rejected from where they wanted to go for like MIT and stuff, or wherever they wanted to go for university. I like that. It's the same fucking thing I nagged to both of you about, the fucking, like, the blip having larger ramifications. Like, yeah, okay, Peter Parker's outed as Spider-Man, or what Spider-Man is Peter Parker. There's more than other. There's other ramifications and other that we may not have thought of, and so I thought that was kind of clever to start, like, oh well, there's more than just one problem with doing this. You don't understand not the whole, like, you don't understand the gravity of the situation, but like, yeah, there's other little, like, tiny shit that you may not have fucking thought about. Which somebody did point out something very interesting online that I just want to make a joke here. It's like, question. Peter's trying to get an MIT, yet he was the like subjugant, like, you know, errand boy for an MIT alum that you would think he would just be able to get into.
Like, this for some reason this movie is like it forgets about everything else.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Conveniently, and also like I mean, this is a good to me. I was watching it. I'm like, this is a good starting point to see like how his actions have, you know, he has to deal with the actions or with him being outed, with them not being able to get into MIT.
Yeah,
it
that's
never
the problem
goes
with
beyond that. It's like I'm going like the next step is no one would do that.
No.
The next step is so Jurassic in comparison to what any person would do.
It's the hey, shut up. So anyway, he moves on to try to get into MIT, and this goes back to like the whole. This goes back to like one of the things that I was worried, and I still am worried about to an extent with the MCU, and we're gonna have to see how things play out. Is the benefit and the detriment of having such a fucking long lineage of timeline and shit that like. It's very easy to like find loopholes or nitpicks and stuff like that. Some movies and shows are great at being able to either stay in their lane or like not like go too far outside of it, where it's like, well, yeah, what about this? Or what about that? Yeah, fucking shut up and just let's enjoy the movie. You know, and it's like, well, no, that's gonna sit in my brain for fucking a year and like gnaw away at me.
They need to do a better job with that like the huge amount of characters, by compartmentalizing them.
Yes,
and not have like everyone on the big stage. If you intend on putting them back on this middle street. Yeah.
Awandi says in the chat, he goes, he jumped out of his seat because Netflix Daredevil is his favorite Marvel content ever, and he quote, "I'm a really good lawyer." Trust me, I am personally looking forward to the Daredevil Born Again series, but we'll definitely cross that bridge when we get there. But no, that's kind of like one of those things where it's like, hey, shut up. So anyway, moving on.
Yeah. And there's a lot of it.
So anyway,
yeah, you have to admit there is a lot of it going on through the entire movie.
I know.
I would be okay with the small things that they breeze by, but that is the main plot line for this movie. That they're hey, shut up. So anyways. You
would think someone as smart as Peter. Anyway, moving on. So Peter finally decides to. He somehow gets the idea. I want to go consult with Dr. Stephen Strange. Which I thought about that for a minute, and I'm like, why would he go to Strange of all people? And it's like, well, yeah, if you literally know who we thought at the time was the Sorcerer Supreme, who had like this, because theoretically at this point in time, Stephen Strange is the most powerful person.
Why wouldn't he just go talk to Pepper Potts?
Why would he?
To get into MIT?
He's doing more than just getting into MIT, though. He's looking to try to get forget everything. Because in Peter's mind, and trust me, I thought about this. I fucking thought about this. In his mind, everything would be fixed if nobody knew he was Spider-Man. Not just the MIT thing. If it was just the MIT thing, yeah, he could have just gone to Pepper Potts or fucking Happy. But no, we have to, because
I think the only thing the movie's shown us so far that's terrible is MIT and the fact that Happy and Aunt May aren't really getting along.
Because the movie has to happen. Fair enough. So
he turned from a fucking 20-year-old kid into like a 3-year-old baby.
Hey, shut up. So anyway, Peter goes to consult with Stephen Strange in the Sanctum Sanctorum, asking him to cast a spell to make people forget that he is Spider-Man. Despite Wong's warning of consequences that it could be incurred, Strange casts the spell anyway. However, the spell...
Why?
Because fuck him. Because, however, the spell is damaged when Peter constantly changing requirements destabilize it. Strange then berates Peter after finding out that Peter didn't even try to contact the MIT acceptance board before coming to him to request a potentially universe-ending spell. Okay.
Doctor Strange is an idiot.
Yes.
So
he's not even the same character that he was throughout his whole fucking run.
So one of my friend Andrew and I, who's also a massive comic book geek, he's more into DC than me, and I'm the Marvel guy. We both were taking bets at the time. It's like, is this Evil Strange? Is this Supreme Strange? Is this the Evil Strange from What If? Like, we were trying to see, because it doesn't make any fucking sense why he would do this, and it still doesn't make any sense why he would fucking do this.
If this happened. If the movies were reversed, this in Multiverse of Madness,
yeah,
at least I'd be like, there's maybe something where he is like already like fucking shit's happening with him, so there might be a reason, but in this one, it's just
no. There's no reason I mean, I
it's terrible. This is like terrible writing to me.
The only thing they mention is that it seems like Strange is like trying to sympathize with Spider-Man. It's like, come on, Wong. Like, it hasn't the kid gone? You know, hasn't the kid suffered far enough? And then on top of that, someone made an excellent point and said, well, why don't we just have everybody forget fucking Mysterio? Because the movie has to happen.
This movie is Swiss cheese when it comes to plot. It is Swiss cheese and like fucking.
Well, Heather, what did you think about the part with Strange and Peter asking him for all that stuff? Were you in the same boat?
I was, and I fucking hated the fact that we got trailer foddered again, because in that scene, Wong is coming down the stairs with the suitcases saying, "Don't do it, Strange." But yet in the movie, he doesn't fucking say those lines.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's been... So for those of you who don't know, Marvel has been known in some of the bigger movies, more specifically, to either remove or add lines into trailers to throw you off as far as what you think may or may not happen. This was one of them, but the first one I remember was Infinity War, when they showed Hulk like running next with Captain America, which never fucking happened, which I kind of like, because it's a little divergence from us being like, we have to analyze every single fucking frame. But
I'd prefer I'd prefer the trailer to fucking throw me off anyway, because I don't want to see part of the movie I'm going to go watch.
Hey, did you see the trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home? Isn't it just a remake of the fucking Fox and the Hound Disney cartoon? Yeah, but that means we're gonna have no idea what the fuck happens. But so Heather, we also find out that Doctor Strange is not the Sorcerer Supreme.
Wong is, because Doctor Strange was gone for 5 years, so it makes sense.
I don't know why that made me happy. I don't know.
Because Wong is fucking genius.
I don't know if it's because I like Wong in general as a character. I think he fits so well with Strange, but I also... And this is even before knowing what happens with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but knowing that movie was coming... For some reason, the idea of Wong being the Sorcerer Supreme felt right.
Yes.
I like him being Sorcerer Supreme. Is just like, he also allows this to happen. I mean, I do like the difference between his version of Sorcerer Supreme and Tilda Swinton, whatever the fuck her name was, the Master or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I think that was Ancient One.
Ancient one. Yeah. Because she was much more like serious by the book, and he's much more like, I'm running a frat house with magic.
Kind of, yeah.
Basically, yeah.
But he just allows him to do this fucking crazy shit.
Wandi said it best. Was because Wong rules. He does. I mean, shit. Wong has so far showed up in. We've seen him in what?
Shang-Chi.
What's that?
Shang-Chi.
We've seen him in Shang-Chi. This. We're gonna see him obviously when we get to She-Hulk, and then obviously Doctor Strange. So I mean, he's been in a good chunk of the Phase 4 shit. So
you know what? He's taken over the Coulson role.
Yeah.
And
the
other guy, he's better than all of them. But there's that other Asian dude too that was in a couple different things.
Not Jimmy Woo.
Jimmy Woo, yeah, he was in.
Yeah, he's taking
Ant-Man, and he was in WandaVision.
We need to have Wong and Jimmy Woo together with a third person, and you.
Wong Woo.
Wong.
No, put it together with Shang-Chi.
Listen, fuck it. Fuck it.
No, put it together with that girl from She-Hulk everyone loved.
Oh,
Madison with
the white. Oh my
and
God.
three ends.
Put Madison, Wong, and Jimmy Woo together. Shit, give him a 6-part Disney Plus special or Disney Plus series. I fucking guarantee you it'll be one of the top-rated fucking Marvel. I almost
they just go between like they're all in the background of everybody else's movies and shows.
You don't
where
need
you
a plot,
get, like,
yeah.
Glimpse. That's what I would do.
It would be MCU's Seinfeld.
Yeah, basically, yeah, you're not wrong. Wandi says it's the WCU, the Wong Cinematic Universe. No fucking shit. I'm all for it. But so Strange is strange. No, but like I have a weird like. First of all, Benedict Cumberbatch fucking always knocks it out of the park as Doctor Strange. I always love seeing him in the outfit. I always like seeing him in the movies, for better or for worse. He is a great casting choice.
He's perfect casting.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in this movie, I am very polarized with him. and it's not his acting. Clearly, it's just the way his
writing.
Yeah, it's
this
a
whole
little.
movie is not written with the other movies in mind.
Well,
character-wise,
he tells Iron Man, "I can't tell you the one possibility, or otherwise it will not happen." But yeah, for Peter Parker, sad puppy-eyed teenager, he sits there and goes, "Yeah, let's fuck up the universe. Let's go."
It also doesn't make any sense. You can make people forget about Peter Parker, but you don't think Mary Jane and fucking Peter have a bunch of pictures on her phone of them together? Who's this guy?
Well, that would happen, but listen. But my point is this scene with him and Peter is really the only fuck up. Everything else lines up with Doctor Strange and his character, right? Because at the end of the day, especially after Thanos and everything, his goal would be to protect the universe and blah blah blah. But it's just this part here, and if they just gave me something a little bit more as to a reason why Doctor Strange would be like, fuck the rules, fuck the police, and just go off and does what he does. I mean,
that's my argument for all this movie, though.
Yeah,
but every character needs a little bit more to do what they end up doing.
Well, Basement. I remember in the Doctor Strange review, and I agreed with you, is that Doctor Strange is basically Iron Man with magic, which is true. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really change his character as far as he's not redeeming himself or anything. But now he's been through he's been singed around he's been a little burnt around the edges and whatnot as far as fucking being gone for 5 years and everything. But it's just this part. If they just gave me a little bit more as far as why he's like, fuck everything.
He's not in character.
Or if he
the most important part of his character.
Or if he had something along like, oh, hey, I know this spell's dangerous, but I'll make sure it doesn't, or I don't know. Just that.
I would have preferred, honestly.
He should know better. He's
there with
a teenager. He knows every teenager when they get nervous become fucking chatty Cathys, no matter what.
Well, so there's a scene that ends up happening in this where his friend, and I can never remember his fucking name, gets the ring, the Doctor Strange ring. I can't remember what it's called. Something has a name. Sling ring. Sling ring, I think.
Sling ring.
And he starts making portals and shit. I would have preferred them to get them to have an extra scene where they could have deleted some other scene in this, but where they kind of Doctor Strange refuses them, but shows them enough to kind of give them a way to learn that specific spell themselves. He gets the sling ring. They try to do it. It fucks up. And then they put Doctor Strange wherever he is so he can't interfere with this movie. But at least it would have made more sense.
Maybe that's why I'm preferring Wong to be the Sorcerer Supreme, because I'll tell you right now, if Strange was the Sorcerer Supreme and pulled this shit, I mean my eyes would be hurting from rolling so hard. In terms of you mean to fucking tell me that the guy who's Sorcerer Supreme was going to fuck? And listen, in the comics,
meant to be the best of us.
He has done this. he has done this. Oh yeah, Tilda Swinton comes back. He was supposed to be the best of us.
If he did this for a reason. He doesn't make mistakes.
I would have loved if they cut that scene out from Endgame. That means he was supposed to be the best of us, and it's like, shit.
I'm still going with my. I mean, it's not. I threw it together in my mind in 1 second, but I'd rather have them kind of steal the spell and try to do it and fail than this, because this makes no absolute sense.
There's a thread of an area where they could have done more with it. Is my point. I mean,
there's more than a thread. There's a fucking massive ass rope.
I'm just saying is that they could have done. There were some things there in the dialogue between him and Peter that you could have pulled more out of, even if it wasn't still enough satisfactory wise to give us a concrete reason as to why he's going to be like, oh, you know what, let's just do this. But in any case, we'll be on this way too long. Anyway, Peter goes to the Alexander Hamilton Bridge to try and convince an MIT administrator to accept Ned and MJ's applications into MIT, but suddenly the bridge is attacked by Otto Octavius, played by the wonderful, wow, I just blanked on his fucking name now. Oh my god.
Dr. Octopus.
No.
Dr. Octavius?
The actor.
Son of a bitch. I just blanked on his name. God damn it. It's not son of a bitch.
Something Italian.
Oh, god damn it.
Don't worry. I'll look it up. You continue.
No, Alfred Molina. That's
There you
Alfred
go.
Molina. So
It was Italian.
he's attacked by Otto Octavius, who rips Parker's nanotechnology from his Iron Spider suit, causing it to bond with his mechanical tentacles. But upon discovering that this isn't the Peter Parker he had previously fought, Octavius has his robotic arms disabled by the nanotechnology before being captured and placed in a holding cell back at the Sanctum Sanctorum, along with Kurt Connors, who had been captured by Strange. So, I will go on record and say that probably next to... Actually, no, fuck it. I will argue that Otto has the best introduction of all the villains. I think he had the best intro as far as the movie. I think he had the best dialogue, the suspension, just enough to get everything by. Even the way he was defeated, I thought was clever because, again, you have to make things kind of quick because there's fucking 5 of these guys. I have really not much to complain about this, to be very honest with you. I thought this was pretty fun. Don't give a shit.
The only like
during this whole segment.
Oh my god.
So wait, he ripped the chest off of his uniform, and now his uniform is the claws? What? That was the entire conversation. It's like, basement. It's nanotechnology. There's tiny little robots controlling his arms.
Made sense to
me. No, I get that. It's just
his face was his icon right now.
No, the fucking woman, the MIT woman, is like she's in like this horrible situation. The bridge falling apart. She's getting destroyed, and she's like, "Okay, I'll get out of here." And makes some little quip and trots along. She's not in danger.
I will admit that an MIT director, realizing that one car door does not open, and continues to try to open that same car door.
There's like her
had
character.
Me in fucking stitches.
Also another brain dead because she doesn't feel like she's in the scene she's in.
No, because if she gets out of the car and she goes, "Peter, you are a hero. You and your friends are getting into MIT as long as you keep your noses clean."
And that's my idea.
Dr. Octavius, you are an evil man.
By the way,
you stop doing what you're doing.
Awandi just said in the chat, "The sorcerer dumbass." I just love that.
This woman is like, remember fucking what the teacher from Rick and Morty, this fucking black teacher.
Oh, what the fuck?
When they go into his mind and he like wakes up and he's like, and he's getting an A+, and that's my idea. That was her in that moment.
Brandon Johnson. Oh no, Goldenfold. That's his name. Goldenfold. Yeah, it is Gold. Yeah, it is fucking Goldenfold.
That's exactly how she acts, and it's just like, what? Okay, fine.
So besides Goldenfold getting abducted, even I think she's
Great
dumbass.
See,
other than that, I didn't give a shit. I thought this scene was awesome.
Great to see Dr. Octopus. Great to see the same guy playing him. He is one of the 3. I'm gonna say one of the 3 best things about this movie.
You know what's also interesting is that as we've talked about with CGI, sometimes CGI does not bode well, especially in these Marvel movies. But whatever fucking de-aging they did to Alfred Molina,
fucking beautiful.
Perfect.
He looks like he's wearing a lot of L'Oreal or some shit. He has fucking makeup up the ass.
As a woman, I can tell you makeup can do wonders. But I think even for Dr. Octavius, they didn't do much CGI with the arms. I think they still kept that as puppetry.
I believe it was a mix. I remember that when they did
the original.
I was about to say the original Spider-Man, or Spider-Man 2 rather, with Alfred Molina, the arms were puppeteered. I believe from what they said was that this was a more of a mix of the two.
And like high movement scenes, like like in the original when he's falling off a building. And it looks super fake. Yeah, that was obviously super fake.
But
I mean,
the action sequences in this were fun. I think the way that he was defeated was kind of clever, in my opinion. I know it was kind of a little anticlimactic. I did love though that they also kind of planted a little bit of a little like the overall plot and just this, and like, what have you done with my machine? He's like, what the hell are you talking about? I should have drowned your girlfriend. Like, what the hell are you talking about? And then he's like, you're not Peter Parker. It's like, yeah, I am. What the, like, the idea of like, obviously there's something amiss between what's going on. It's not as clear cut as we all think it to be, but
another added little detail was how wrinkled Peter's suit was.
Oh yeah,
his regular dress suit.
Yep.
How wrinkled it was from being underneath the nano suit.
No, I will say, like, I'm not a fan of this is not this movie's fault, of the nano suit stuff. It takes away a lot from a character who usually uses his brain to get into things, where the suit is just like, I am going to fight this battle for you. I don't like that.
That's Tony Stark for you, basically. But when I also did love that just as Peter, it looks like everything is good to go, the Peter Tingle, as they call it, goes off just as another familiar face, or rather voice, shows up in the Green Goblin, played by Willem Dafoe, which I'm going to wait on that for a second because I want to talk a lot about him in a little bit. But just as Spider-Man looks like he's ready to fight, he gets, of course, like I said, taken away to the Sanctum Sanctorum, where Otto Octavius is placed in one cell, but Kurt Connors, the Lizard, is placed in the other one. Strange ultimately reveals that his spell that had begun bringing, that he was working on with Peter, somehow, because Doctor Strange is such a fucking genius, it started bringing everybody from every other part of the multiverse who knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man into their world. With the help of MJ and Leeds, and Parker decides to capture any other possible visitors, and of course they do come across a couple of other ones, which I'm going to get to in just a second. So we now have like a little bit of a premise and a plot of, hey, that spell you want me to do? Well, it's actually bringing other people from multiverses who know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
This was another big gripe of Basements. It's like, why is it just the villains? Why is the other Mary Jane's not coming through as well?
Yeah, no. So the plot can happen. Another Swiss cheese.
No, I was gonna say one's dead, but then again, two of these characters are
and
dead.
so was Dr. Octavius.
I know. This
has been warped in the moment before they died, like everyone else.
Hey, shut up. So anyway, the movie needs to happen. This is, yes,
well,
I'm not
so angering. If it was just one moment of plot hole, it would be okay. But this is like they start piling him on heavy, man. It's the fucking Swiss. It's like, would you like a slice of Swiss cheese on your sandwich?
As many portals
How
as
about
were in
17?
Endgame. As many portals as there were in Endgame. No, listen, like I said, I still hold No Way Home pretty high up there in regards, but I'm not going to be completely oblivious to the fact that there's shit in here that is just like, I can't think about it too long because otherwise the aneurysm won't go away. And yes, this is one of those things where it's like, oh, everybody who knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man is going to come in here from the multiverse. Okay, that makes sense, sort of, but not, but like, there's
That's
no
the whole movie.
I know.
That makes sense, sort of. But if I look at it for too long, eventually,
if you look at it, my eye begins to twitch and my chest feels heavy. I don't understand why.
If you look at gold in a glimpse, it looks good. The more you look at it, you might be able to tell it's fake.
Now here's this. This is where I wish. This is where like a little bit more of dialogue would have gone so fucking far. It's eventually revealed, I think, either at this point or either further back in the movie that like when Doctor Strange was working on fine-tuning the spell that Peter asked, when he's like, oh, what about MJ? What about Ned? What about these people who want to, he want to have remember him be Spider-Man? He had to alter the spell X amount of times. And the X amount of times that he altered it, if you did the math out, actually lined up with the amount of visitors that we got that were crossing over. They just fucking went in a little bit further on that. I would have bought this a little bit more as far as like, hey, there was a finite number of people. It's like, well, according to my calculations, we altered the spell 6 times. There should be 6 visitors here on this realm, so you need to find them. Ta-da!
It's so easy. But that's the thing. The problems that this movie has are so easily fixable.
Yes.
But they didn't think. They didn't think. They were just like, we really want to get to this moment where nostalgia, baby. I'm going to just cover your face in my nostalgia juice. And I don't want it.
I was all for
it. I don't want
I
it.
don't give a shit. I was all for it, baby.
But it also shows, like, I'm going to say this now because I'll probably forget later. They end up taking so he has the Lizard and he has
Doc
Sandman.
Ock. Well, Doc Ock, yeah. The next part I was about to get to is that they were going to go after Sandman and Electro. Fuck it, we're there now.
All I wanted to say basically is I think this movie could have done with cutting back on that.
Yeah.
There's the 2 of them that don't need to be part of it at all. Even Electro, I know they use him to be like this force to be like, oh, fuck you, I don't want to be that guy no more. But like the other 2, that they just stay in CGI form for forever for some reason, and also don't add anything to the storyline.
I can tell you why they're in CGI reason for the most of the movie.
Because they're not in the movie.
Yep. Yeah. Basically. So, I'm not lost on that. So, obviously there are villains that are more prominent than others. I think it's safe to say that Alfred Molina was at the beginning was very centric. He kind of fell back a little bit, then of course towards the end. Obviously, Willem Dafoe is probably the alpha villain if there's any one of them out of the five. But this was basically Sony and Marvel's version of fucking this. Like, this is the closest they're gonna get to their fucking Sinister Six that they want at this point in time. So that's, hey, let's shove these guys in there while we can. Because I know that's been something that Sony has been wanting to do for quite a long time as far as a Sinister Six, which, I mean, if this shuts them up at this point, I'll be happy with that. But
it's another case though of like references to like source material that they're not going to follow through with, kind of hurting the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, cool, this is like the Sinister Six, but it's not.
It's the Fantastic
going to be that.
Five.
And you add them together, they don't work together. They don't do fucking anything
and
except
technically
for like 2
it was
scenes.
6, which we'll get there. We'll get there for the love of God.
Yeah. That is such a waste, honestly.
Well.
I know, but it still is to me.
But anyway, we'll just gloss over this part real quick in terms of they ultimately find and capture both Max Dillon, Electro, and Flint Marko, the Sandman. Now, this was kind of I know it was more just set up more than anything else, because it was more the idea of, oh, here are 2 more villains that came from different universes. They're still trying to figure out where they're coming from and what's going on. Obviously, Jamie Foxx reprising his role as Electro, looking infinitely better than he did in The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
That was one of my points. Heather will know. Like, hey, did he look like just Jamie Foxx? No, he had like a fucking comb over.
No, he had like
and
glasses and
shit.
Yeah, infinitely better. And Flint Marko was in CGI the entire time. In fact, if you go back and watch the scene where he goes from Flint, like the Sandman, to actually human towards the end, it's the exact same fucking like camera rendering from Spider-Man 3. Like, if you go back and look. Yep. So take your fucking pick.
Why? No, they. I think he voice acts the fucking character.
He did, but he didn't. He wasn't there physically.
That just is like, come on, man. This is like the richest fucking company in the world.
Anyway, elsewhere, Norman Osborn is retrieved after going to a feast building seeking help. Strange wants to send the villains back to their respective universes and meet their fates. However, Peter wants to cure them before sending them back in order to prevent their fated deaths. He frees them and confines Strange in the mirror dimension after a brief fight, taking the villains to Happy's apartment. Parker successfully cures Octavius by using Stark technology to replace his broken inhibitor chip, but when cures are developed for Osborn and Dillon, the Green Goblin persona takes over Osborn before the cure can be administered. Okay, first and foremost, Willem Dafoe, I cannot say a fucking bad thing about him in this movie. I just can't. I cannot find it in me to say anything bad about this. Also, whoever's idea it was to have him not wear the fucking Green Goblin mask deserves a fucking raise. That was a genius move, because he has such a, as you can see from Basement's profile picture, such an expressive face and such emotions that hiding it behind a mask, looking back on it now, is criminal. And the fact that they made him
it's a disservice
so
for sure.
fucking happy that they did that.
I saw it when they did the third one, or was the second one, was it? Where he was in the mirror talking to himself.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
And
all the scenes with
the
him.
expression going back and forth between that, it's just like, holy fuck,
Like,
man.
why-
This is why you get Oscar-worthy actors for these kind of parts.
Yep.
Yeah, he absolutely is the that's another perfect casting. Wasn't done by Marvel, but holy shit, man.
Yeah.
The greatest fucking casting I've ever seen. But he's number 2 for me. There's like I said, there's 3 pillars for this movie that are really good. I had fucking Doc Ock is number 3. He's number 2. And don't look at me like that.
Laser eyes activated.
And I saw the cat in the background. This is another point for me that is like mind-bogglingly stupid. Not the stuff with the Green Goblin or anything like that, but it's the decision made by Tom Holland's Spider-Man to forget the last movie happened within a week of the last movie happening and go on a trust fucking Like his like trust brigade of all these 5 villains. He's like, yeah, I get it. He doesn't know who they are, and he kind of gets like, hey, Doc Ock is not a bad person. He doesn't know shit about the other guys. One guy's a fucking lizard, for fuck's sakes. It's like, I'm going to open up these cages and take them home.
They explain it to MJ and Ned while they're in the prisons about what they used to be, to kind of fill them in on the last 4 or 5 fucking movies that happened before Tom Holland, and try to fill in the audience to backstories. But I don't think it was just because he was trusting the villains. Taking the time to sit and think about it, he didn't trust the villains. He trusted Aunt May, who is a fucking dumbass. Because she only met Willem Dafoe, who was Norman Oswald at the time. So at that point, he's a scared, feeble old man who doesn't know what the fuck is going on, and he doesn't know how to fix himself.
Yeah,
it's tough because on one hand, I agree with both of what you're saying. It's like on one hand, yeah, you just got royally fucked in the last movie by trusting the wrong person, but it's also, that's a big core part of Peter Parker's character, and it's actually something I would argue, as far as Tom Holland's performance of Peter Parker, this is my favorite one. Him in No Way Home. Are there flaws? No shit. But to me, like, Homecoming and Far From Home did not feel like Peter Parker. It felt like it's the MCU that just happened to have a Peter Parker Spider-Man in it. This movie made me feel like this, like now I see Tom Holland as maybe other people saw more of their Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire as their Peter Parker. I can see now Tom on a similar level to them as far as, yeah, I can relate him to Peter Parker based off of his mannerisms and his growth and his sacrifices and blah 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 after this movie.
That's also a problem.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be happening in the 3rd fucking movie for him to become the character he is.
Well,
right? Honestly, and it's there. We'll go on to see when we get to the part, which is soon, how dumb it is to do it the way that they did it.
Yes, I agree with that. However, I still don't think it's just Peter Parker just trusting the villains. It's Aunt May got to him with her talk at the Feast compound. But to your point, Connor, for Tom Holland being in line with them, that for me is a little closer to the end.
Yes. But
let me take 5 criminals back to my apartment.
Hear me out.
Apartment.
Hear me out. He's also still figuring things out. And here's I know it's a bullshit excuse, but just
he should at least have some sort of like thought of being like, I was fucked over to the worst degree 10 days ago.
But you have to think about like what he's gone through a lot of shit. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, just think.
He should grow. This is
the movie where he does it.
He should already have grown somewhat.
But in his
past experiences,
in his mind,
not just be like,
in his mind, he's killing them. In his mind, he's killing them, and he cannot do that. He cannot do that. And here's the thing: you have to. I know we get it later on in the movie, but presumably, the Uncle Ben moment still happened. Right? The great power, great response. I know. But presumably based off of what we've seen and heard in other movies, it still happened.
Already happened.
Right.
Back in fucking 2016. In his first movie. This you can't have 3 fucking movies teaching the guy the same lesson.
No, it's not the same lesson. It's different lessons.
Tony Stark said the exact same fucking thing to him with different words. Back in his first movie.
No, my point is that he doesn't completely learn. I don't think he completely learns everything. But I think
he should never learn at this point.
No fucking shit.
In my opinion.
But my argument is each movie gets him closer to where a lot of people see him as like the Peter Parker that a lot of people relate to from the comics and or whatever medium. And at the end of this movie, he is at that point. At the end of this movie, he is at that point, in my opinion. but there are parts and pieces that he like, because why else would he like say like, oh, I have to try and save him, like, you know, I have to, if there's any chance of them still having good in them, and if according to them, he's saying that Spider-Man did this to me, or Spider-Man, well, I want to be the one to fix it. That's still the good in him to be able to do what's right and do what's the best thing, whether, you know, good, bad, or indifferent. Well, not good, bad, and different, but he's trying to do what's right. And that's always been at the core crux of Spider-Man. Sometimes it's a stupid move, sometimes it's foolish, and sometimes it bites him in the ass, but that's still who he is at the core of it. That's one of the reasons why he's such a popular, if not the most popular Marvel character, at least for me anyway. So
it's just like, I get what you're saying, and I'm with you 100%. It's just the movie does a very poor job of referencing the past.
The pacing's bad on it. I'll tell you that. I'll agree with you on that.
It's just like like, yeah, you can fucking fill in the holes by yourself from referencing a character that hasn't been present, because the last two movies should have just been called Peter Parker if he doesn't become Spider-Man until the end of this movie. So like, the last couple movies have told very similar stories of him being like trying to do more than he can, and being like, oh, you do something, you go out there, you do something stupid, that their blood is on your hands. That's what Tony Stark told him. The next movie, pretty much the same thing all over again. Trust somebody he shouldn't, gets royally fucked. Almost, the movie won't say it, but a bunch of people fucking died for sure. They exploded a whole fucking city.
People did drown, like, so you know.
So, it's just like, how many times, like, at some point in time, it loses its impact from a viewership side if he never fucking grows. And at this point, I don't care. They could go and find everybody he's ever been related to and kill them. He still should be making the same fucking stupid mistakes next movie, because that's where he is trajectory-wise.
Well, maybe that's why him doing it a little bit differently and actually taking the reins and saying, I don't want to kill them, there's got to be another way.
I get it, but then he proceeds to take them all to a fucking apartment.
Where else is he going to fucking take them?
Dangerous way possible.
Where else is he going to take them?
Well, Happy is the one who stowed away the Stark Industries.
Yeah, don't they have, like, doesn't he have connections, for fuck's sakes?
I mean...
Call Pepper Potts.
Stop saying your answer to everything is call Pepper Potts.
Call
You also got to remember, at this point, Stark Industries, as it was known, no longer exists.
That's true, too. It was being dissolved. But I might have beaten this subject into a little bit too much of a dead horse. But anywho, we do see that he brings them back to Happy's apartment. Parker successfully cures Octavius by using Stark Industries technology to replace his broken inhibitor chip. When he develops cures for both Osborn and Dylan, that's when we see, again, amazing acting from fucking Willem Dafoe. The Green Goblin persona takes over Osborn before the cure can be administered. Goblin then manipulates Dylan into removing the device that Parker put on him to cure him, and despite the best efforts of Parker and Octavius, the other four escape. I love how Sandman's just like, I'm out of here.
Which makes no sense, because at that point, he was trying to be the good guy.
Well, he has no reason to even exist. His whole thing was like saving his niece or his daughter or some shit. It's like, I guess I'm in a different dimension. So
in the
I'm gonna go to the beach where I belong.
In the ensuing battle, May is critically injured by the Goblin, with Parker unable to save her as she succumbs to her wounds. We're gonna stop at that point right there. So
that's where we stopped watching the first half.
This is the exact moment. Yeah.
This was an amazing scene. I love the fighting between Parker and Goblin. Everything else didn't really care for. I did love how Doc Ock tried to step in, but he just got like trampled and then he was just gone. This is obviously the shit hits the fan moment, obviously. But I don't give a shit. When I saw Aunt May dying in the theaters, I got choked up. I was like, fuck, they're gonna do it. They're actually killing Aunt May. Like, I was a little surprised. I was a little fuck off. I was a little surprised. I was a little surprised they killed her off. When they did that, when I heard great power, I'm like, you sons of bitches. Like, I don't know. I really, really liked this scene.
It was a good scene, and frankly, at that point in time, it was a good time to kill her off. For me, because there really wasn't much more she was going to be able to do. No. And if this is going to be the last time we see Peter Parker as Spider-Man, it's a good send-off
Yeah, I don't disagree with the move.
Just,
I was just kind of surprised they did it, but in general,
they had to do something to
Yeah.
get him to that point because he was up to this point. Fucking world's falling apart around him, and he hasn't changed. So they're gonna have to hit him somewhere. But first of all, it just seems so weirdly out of character to hear those words come out of her mouth.
I'm not gonna lie, like it was a bit off for me, but
I know
no
it got like the
complaints.
point across, but it was just like so far, what has her character been up to this point? The hot aunt. Like,
Yeah.
She's hardly done anything in terms of being integral to any story. It's like, Peter, she'll say like 2 words to him. Oh, it's your tingle thing. It's either like these little jokes.
Yeah, I know.
And then out of nowhere, she's like words of wisdom.
I'm
Where
not
when
saying
it
I'm
came
gonna
from
miss
Uncle
her.
Ben, when it came from Uncle Ben, he was trying to teach lessons prior to his death. In at least the original time it happened in Spider-Man 1.
Right.
Remember, like there was so much more weight there. Where this, for me, it meant nothing to me.
Well,
I wasn't invested in her character at all.
it didn't have as much weight as other, as Uncle Ben in terms of his passing or anything like that. I agree with you. I'm just saying it was one of those things where it's just like, oh shit, they're actually going to do this. They're actually going to kill off Aunt May. But stepping back and looking back at it, yeah, makes all the sense in the world why they would. This is supposed to be, arguably, because we don't know if there's going to be another Spider-Man after this in the MCU in terms of a solo movie, the biggest threats, the biggest challenge, he's the biggest sacrifice. You know what I mean? Like, this is the highest scale Spider-Man MCU movie, so it would make sense that he would lose someone, if not a lot. We'll get to spoilers. But
While watching this, I remember talking to Heather, and we basically came to the same consensus that this was the best part of the movie up to the moment that we've watched. And it's like this movie needed something because it was really like it wasn't slow, but it was just like if you know all these people are if you know all these people are showing up, you kind of the whole like, hey, pomp and circumstance of seeing cameos and seeing people from the past in movies they don't even fucking own to like be like, hey, we're here. It was like, okay, but where's the story that is better than what you kind of presented?
Yeah, I also do love the visual. The one thing I also loved was the weight of it in terms of the visual aesthetic of. It cuts to Peter crying, like it's downpouring in rain. He's on top of cities, and there's like lights in the background, and he's just clearly fucking distraught for obvious reasons, and he's just like lost. Like there's 5 villains who are out to kill me. Aunt May's dead, and I'm like absolutely fucked. But something about the way that he looks distraught, it's just like.
I think I said this too. Tom Holland, when given the chance to fucking come out of that prototype MCU thing, he does an excellent job. He did an excellent job in Infinity War and Endgame. The emotional beats, Tom Holland is really fucking good.
Uncharted.
Well, that movie was just... But yeah, it's definitely, like, for the first half of the movie, this is definitely the best scene. And I think he does a good job. I mean, Marissa Tomei, she doesn't have a lot to work with. Character-wise, she's very one note, so it's like, and now we're gonna input these words of wisdom into your body as you die.
Yeah, it didn't have the brevity of other things, or it didn't have as much brevity as I think other people. How do I phrase this? I'm trying
Didn't
to
have
phrase
the
this
weight.
Right. It had weight. It just didn't have as much as I think people are giving. Like, oh my God, she's dead. Like, I was shocked they killed her off, but I wasn't like, oh my God, they killed her off. You know what I mean? It was a very.
They didn't build her character up enough for it to actually feel the way it needed to feel. For it to be that turning point for him going from Peter Parker with like eyes in the sky to Spider-Man who's lost.
I think it would have had more brevity if fucking Happy was killed.
Yeah.
Personally, if he was, if you were to replace Happy Hogan with Aunt May in this death scene, in my opinion, Happy's death would have had more weight to it.
I still think they should have kept fucking Uncle Ben around. I mean, people can complain, oh, we've seen that scene all the time. You've seen fucking Batman's parents die 1 trillion times. Just get used to it. It's important because
give it to me.
the character needs it. It is the defining moment in that character becoming who they become. But in this Spider-Man, he's already that person.
I do.
It's like unearned.
I know it's kind of tricky. I appreciate them trying a little bit different, going in a bit of a different direction. Might have taken a couple movies to get there, but no one's perfect. But Heather, you're in the same boat as far as like the way they handled Aunt May's death, the whole goblin fight scene.
The whole thing leading up to it too. I mean, she's grabbing all the stuff that they're gonna need to continue on trying to build these cures for them. And then them getting downstairs, she stops and tries to use the elevator. Do you not realize you have very limited fucking time, woman?
The dumbest wise person I've ever met.
Oh, God.
And then they fight. She finally gets downstairs. Peter catches up with her, and then the fight scene with Goblin. The explosion happens, and she gets fucking speared by the...
Yeah, she got fucking wrecked. I forgot about that. She got fucking wrecked.
When that happened, I laughed because I was like, she's dead. And then she was dead. And I was like, oh, fuck. That's good.
Exactly.
That was
exactly what happened. She got hit, and we just both went, oh, yeah, that ain't good.
Yeah, she got fucking... She got
why is she standing up? What's going on here? How is she not dead? And then finally, I just need to catch my breath.
So, meanwhile, while all this is going on, MJ and Ned accidentally learn how to open up portals using Strange's sling ring, which they used in an attempt to find Peter Parker, but instead summon an alternative Peter Parker from a different universe, and then a second attempt brings forth another alternative. Leeds and MJ find their Peter Parker, who is comforted by MJ after learning of May's death. He then meets the other Spider-Men, who share their own story of losing loved ones and encourage him, to fight in May's honor. They cooperate on curing the remaining villains and lure them to the Statue of Liberty. Leeds and MJ protect the original bind spell by Strange as the Spider-Men battle their enemies together. Now, there's a couple things I forgot to mention about this beforehand. I glossed over a couple of notes here. The first is when Spider-Man takes the box that Strange was going to send everybody back to, and they have the giant fight in the mirror dimension. Mm-hmm. That is the scene I want to see on an edible.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the second half of this movie is much better than the first half for me because they also abandoned plot.
Yes.
I do love how Spider-Man's like, wait, this is geometry. You love math. This is math. You love math. And he fucking beats practically the Sorcerer Supreme with math. But anyway, I just thought that was a fun little tidbit there.
Strange just takes a bunch of L's in this movie.
He really fucking does. The introduction now of, we have now 3 Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, now returning in their roles as Peter Parker and Peter Parker from their respective Spider-Man films. I love their acting in this movie.
The 3 of them together are fucking fantastic.
They've got great chemistry with each other, and I'll say it. I think the best Spider-Man, and number 1 on my list, is fucking Andrew Garfield. I think he is the best of the 3 in the worst movies of the 3.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because everyone always, before Tom Holland, everyone always is Toby. I was Camp Garfield, to be very honest with you. There's something about like the quit whips that he was using and like the snarky, like, he would always
kind of gets all aspects of Spider-Man, where I think
he gets more of them.
Like he kind of embodies, like, he does the best job in all areas.
Yes.
Where I think like Tom Holland is great in the emotional stuff, and he's got the ability to be like a. The problem with Tom Holland is every time I look at him, he could be fucking 57 years old. I'm gonna think he's in grade 7.
That wrong.
And the opposite is the problem for fucking Tobey Maguire. He is resting old man face, even when he was young.
I know. So the interaction with the 3 of them goes back to my dichotomy of new fans versus the old fans, right? They obviously there's a lot of conversations with Toby and Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland where they're referencing their own experiences in their other movies that people are like, oh, I know what he's talking about. But I also do love how the statements and the conversations are relatively vague enough to get the point across that they've seen some shit and they're trying to somewhat instill advice either Tom Holland or each other. And just something about the three of them interacting before the fight scene, I could watch that for a fucking hour.
Yeah. This is where the movie starts for me to become very fun. Like I said, they kind of abandoned the building of a plot because the plot's already there.
Yes.
What little of it there is. But like the interaction between like the three generations of Spider-Man, the way that they work together, you get to see enough of the characters that they are in their own universe or their own movies. And there's enough emotional weight from each one that has gone through a different course. Like their timelines. Like, yeah, Tobey Maguire's is very much different than Andrew Garfield's, which is very much different than Tom Holland's. So you're not getting three of the same fucking character. And that's the thing that this movie does that's genius. The best thing about this movie is the interaction between the three Spider-Mans, not so much the villains, but the three Spider-Mans. And, well, I mean, I guess to the point, like, Doc Ock's change, and the change of nobody else, I guess. But, like, yeah, it's a good reward for having been with this Spider-Man shit for like the last 25 years.
Yes.
Or however long it's been.
This is the point for me that puts Tom Holland at the same level as the other two.
Yes.
Because he keep up with their conversation and add in his own stuff with his own quick wit. I mean, him sitting there, I fought a giant alien and I fought in space. And it's like, wait, you fought an alien? Yeah, he was purple.
I want to fight in space.
That kind of also makes me laugh at the Avengers. Is that like a band?
Yes.
Yeah, like
there's a lot of good like references to that, and it's not just about the new MCU stuff. They make reference to a lot of the stuff from the previous movies too. He keeps calling him Amazing Spider Amazing. He keeps calling him Amazing. He calls him like 3 or 4 times because his was the Amazing Spider-Man.
There was Peter was like, "Oh, my back's bugging me," which was a reference from one of the movies where he like
oh, my back.
Yeah. When he fell and like landed, he's like, "Fuck my back."
And it's also the reference of I had like a week where I had a web block. I was normal for a week when he lost all the use of his spider abilities. Yeah.
Do the webs come out of any other places?
Yeah. I mean, it's just a lot of fun, and I think it's the perfect amount of time that they spend with those guys, and like the pacing is completely different. I enjoy the rest of this movie for the most part. Up until here, though, I was like, what the fuck? And just like this is also like I guess it's almost to a detriment at times of Tom Holland Spider-Man thing, because he's always more enjoyable when he's not the only thing you're looking at. Yeah. He needs to be everything needs to be a buddy cop with him.
I know. So at this point, the three Spider-Man struggle. They decide to plan the coordinated attack on the villains. They are later joined by Octavius, and they manage to defeat and cure both Connors, Dylan, and Marco after a lengthy battle with Dylan reconciling with his universe's Spider-Man and encouraging to abandon his villainous tendencies. So pretty much cut and dry. They have like the fights in between. I thought the fight sequences were actually kind of fun. I also did love how they weren't really coordinated, and of course, because Peter was part of it, or because Tom Holland was part of a team, he was able to help coordinate them a little bit better. So I thought that was a clever little plot device they used. They're able to cure all three of them. I don't know if you guys caught this or not, but when Andrew Garfield's talking to, when he's talking to Electro and he takes his mask off, he's like, "Oh, for some reason I thought you'd be black." Yeah, it could be a cool thing to have a black Spider-Man, right?
Yeah. I even said while we were watching it, "Oh, Miles Morales."
Yep. Nice little, because Jesus Christ, there's not fucking enough Easter eggs in this thing. Leeds accidentally frees Strange from the mirror dimension, which I do love how he's like, I was stuck in the Grand Canyon for 12 hours, so Loki would have appreciated that after falling for 30 minutes. Who seizes control of the spell and works to protect the current universe as the barriers begin to break down between other universes. Meanwhile, while all this happens, we do get a little surprise from none other than, of course, the Green Goblin, who attended who did destroy the box that Strange had brought in, and now he's trying to contain the universes while all sorts of chaos is carnate. What did you guys think of the scene with Andrew Garfield's redemption?
Catching Michelle Jones, that was fucking great.
Yeah, that was a great moment. Probably the best moment in this film for me. Like, this is the difference for like a moment that has the proper backing to make it feel emotional versus the Aunt May thing for me. Like, you have that history there, and he plays it well. And then I gotta say this because there's a couple things we went back. Ned. The fucking superpowers just come to this motherfucker in 2 seconds. It's kind of frustrating, but I'm not going to hold on to it for too long. Zendaya.
I know magic now. I just love how he's just like, I do magic now. What's up?
Zendaya. Both Ned and Zendaya get a lot more time.
Yes.
To be characters in this movie, and it's great. Like, I've complained for the last 2 fucking Marvel Spider-Man movies about, hey, Mary Jane, she's a character. Is she? She could be replaced by a block of wood.
Yeah,
Nobody would notice.
Especially in the first one. I definitely agree with you on that one.
Yeah, this one they get a lot more, and it is a good thing. But yeah, this scene with Andrew Garfield and Mary Jane is like, because that's like arguably the best scene in his movie.
Yes.
Being finally given some like closure to see, or like at least giving some like closure to his character, to have been able to get there in time.
It's one of those scenes where if you know, you know.
Yeah.
And even if you don't know, it's still very nice to like, because the one thing I did, like I said, I appreciate is that there was a couple of things
done right.
Yes. He referenced how, when they were talking about like what happened to them since became Spider-Man, how Andrew's like, man, I got lost, I got angry and blah, blah, blah. So even if you didn't think he was, even if you never saw that movie, you could associate the fact that, hey, this Spider-Man's fucked up in the sense of he's gone through a lot and he's gone through all these things. And so it's kind of like his redemption to be able to save somebody. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if you don't personally connect that to him saving or making up for losing Gwen from his movie.
He does say, I had a Gwen, right? Like when they're talking.
Yeah.
I didn't have a Mary Jane, but I had a Gwen or some shit like that. I can't remember exactly.
But my point is that they didn't spell out everything about it completely. But if you knew enough, you could appreciate it more. But my point is that if you didn't, you could still appreciate that scene in and of itself.
Yeah, this is why the second half of this movie is like
so good.
Much better than the first half.
First half.
It's like, almost like whoever wrote and fucking directed the first half was like, okay, I'm out. And someone else was like, okay, let's actually fucking make a movie.
I got this. So at this point now, it's a fight between Tom Holland and Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin.
Is he the Hobgoblin? Because he's got the purple little fucking frill on.
Nope, he is still.
Do you think that's like a call to that?
Green Goblin. No, Green Goblin wore purple mixed with it too. In the comics, he was mostly green, but his undertones were purple.
Because the Hobgoblin had like the little hoodie.
Hobgoblin was
purple hoodie, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking. Am I just confusing it? All right.
Go to bed. No, okay. I will say that the fight scene, for me personally, between Willem Dafoe and Tom Holland is my... if it's not my favorite, it's like my second favorite fight of the entire fucking movie. Because of the acting of Dafoe, something about the part of like when he's like... you're gonna send me home to die. He goes, no, I'm gonna kill you myself. That's my boy, or that's the like fuck. Like, god damn, it was so fucking good. I really have nothing to complain about this. I have nothing to add of substance other than how good it was. The only thing I wish, and I think Basement probably is gonna say, you might both actually probably say the same thing. The stabbing. Just okay. You stab Toby and then like
nothing.
What? Yeah,
that's sad. It's okay. I'll just stand up.
After he gets up from night, like, I got super healing. I'm good.
It's so like.
He's stabbed before. I'll heal up. Don't worry. But it's still the fact that the better part of that fight scene was Toby coming down and stopping Tom Holland from killing Green Goblin.
Yes.
Yeah. I really have nothing bad to say about the rest of this movie.
Yeah.
Except for the after credits kind of a little bit. I didn't hate it or anything, but I didn't love it at all.
We'll get there. But no, I have nothing bad to. I have nothing. That part was fantastic. So, where did I leave off here? My notes here. Jesus. So Peter injects Goblin with a cure, restoring him to a regretful Osborn. Peter and MJ confess their love for each other and share a passionate kiss before this new spell officially starts. So, to prevent further catastrophe and at Parker's request, Strange fixes the spell, sending all the alternative Spider-Man and their villains back to their respective universes while making everyone forget that Peter Parker's existence. So, okay, this was the one that...
Well, I guess this is the one thing I don't like as well, to an extent.
The movie doesn't do a good enough job of explaining enough of what the actual spell/ramifications were. We don't really get more full detailed understanding until, ironically, the next Doctor Strange movie. So,
which sucks.
Oh, yeah, well, give us a couple weeks. We'll be there. So, villains were still coming in who knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. So, in an attempt to sacrifice himself, Peter says, do the spell that we originally cast and say, make everyone forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. I love the line that Benedict Cumberbatch actually admitted that he ad-libbed, where he said, it means we, the people who love you, would forget who you are. And he said he actually ad-libbed that, and the director was like, fucking keep that in. So that whole interaction I fucking loved, especially the thank you, Steven, call me, thank you, Sarah, call me Steven, still feels weird. Nothing to take away or add to that scene. Fucking perfect. But the idea of like, okay, people are going to forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. We didn't really understand what that meant. Even the end of the movie doesn't really explain what the hell that means. But we can now confirm, fucking a year later, that Spider-Man is still a memory in everyone's mind. Everybody knows who Spider-Man is and still remembers interactions with him and whatnot. It's Peter Parker who is the one who's forgotten. Still doesn't help.
No.
I mean, they lose the ability to make the correlation between one being one. Like, I don't think it's not as bad.
No, it's just they don't do a good enough job in this movie of
explaining
it.
You just told me, you filled in a gap for me because I watch all the shit out of order. I didn't know because I'm like, well, how are people gonna forget about fucking him? Because fucking Lord, he's everywhere.
That's my point. Is that like, well, okay, is the fact that like Peter doesn't exist? Is it like Spider-Man doesn't exist? Like, what's the situation? Yeah. So the way it's explained, both writers, directors, and from later movies, because Doctor Strange mentions it, he's like, we did have some help with Spider-Man. People know who Spider-Man is. They know he exists. They know his association with the Avengers and blah, blah, blah. As far as who his identity is, they don't know who the fuck he is, and Peter Parker is a lot less well known. Peter still has a social. Peter still has all his proper documentations and shit, so that's how he was able to get the fucking apartment at the end of the movie. But he is not... He has nothing at this point, right? He has no...
The movie doesn't do it at all, because I remember going on a fucking little rant about him, but I'm like, how is he fucking existing without having like any fucking documentation of who he is?
How do you get the apartment?
Yeah, it was just like, it's just like, it's, again, one of those things that is so fixable that they just don't do.
2 lines of dialogue would have summed it up. Or even a fucking like...
He just needs to look at him and say, remember, everybody will remember who you are, but they won't remember that you are Spider-Man.
Or even just like a fucking monologue of like him talking to himself while he's swinging through the city, but like... It's weird that, people still may not... They know who Spider-Man is, but Peter Parker remains a mystery. Fucking just something so...
It's something so small that is so impactful if kept into the movie. But this is why I get infuriated, because this is like the 5th time that this fucking movie does this shit.
Yes.
And that's when I say it's poorly written. because it's not cohesively written.
I know that's the problem. So Heather, I want to get your thoughts on that too. But also that does the end scene with him looking like he's about to hand the letter to MJ and like reintroduce himself and do you think that scene tried to help make things better? Do you think it made it worse? Do you think it didn't really fucking matter?
At that point, it didn't really fucking matter because you could see it on her face that she was smitten with him just by looking at him, but she can't figure out why she's smitten with him.
Yep.
I just also don't understand, because do people forget that he is Spider-Man and that's it?
Yes.
No, they just forgot entirely who he was as far as Peter Parker.
So
because then it's terrible.
He had to reintroduce himself to her in the coffee shop.
Anyone in the comments, please fucking help us out with this next part. So this is the way
It doesn't make any sense then, because she would still be in love with him.
Oh God, okay. So this is the way I understood it. Now I could be fucking wrong. So
she'd have like, whose dick pic is this?
Okay, so the way I understood it is that Spider-Man is still Spider-Man, so nothing really changes with him. As far as Peter Parker is concerned, nobody can remember Peter himself or anything that he has done to influence their lives. So for example, the necklace that MJ has, she knows she got it. She knows she got it from somebody like special, but she can't remember who. It would be
somebody will go crazy. Like the ramifications of the actual ramification, like it's such an intrusive spell. If you think about it, like it's like the whole Wanda situation all over fucking again. It's like, man, you are doing something that is morally wrong.
So, well, hold on. So hear me out though, right? At this point though, in Peter's life, the only real people that's going to affect, like realistically, and I'm not saying that like it's not going to affect more people, but realistically, the people it's going to affect is on a major scale would be Happy, MJ, and Ned.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's
and Doctor Strange.
And yeah, Doctor Strange. Other than
everybody that he went to school with.
Well, no, but I mean the people that he didn't have any like major. I'm talking like people who had like he had deep relationships with, or like more long-term relationships. May's dead.
Especially in like Ned's case, because MJ is one thing, but that was only like a couple of years. Ned, I presume they've been good friends for a very long time. He's just gonna have a gaping hole.
Yep.
Of like, who's your best friend? I have one, but I can't remember
who it is.
It's like, what the fuck? That is like.
But
you go get yourself checked out mentally.
I mean, there's rumors that Ned might become the Hobgoblin. Who knows? And it might very well be because of fucking Doctor Strange. But no, my point is that like. I agree. Like, if you try to sit down and actually fucking think about this, it's going to fucking hurt your head. However, the flip side of that is that realistically, it's only going to affect a very small handful of people, bigger picture, because the idea is that, to me, the message I received is that, hey, Peter's full board on as Spider-Man. It is full fucking throttle. He is not choosing two different lives anymore. He's choosing Spider-Man over being Peter Parker. And by doing so, he's losing everything else, but he's keeping being Spider-Man. Because look, he doesn't have the Stark connections anymore. He doesn't even have the fucking Stark suit anymore. He made his own suit. He doesn't have Happy. He doesn't have Aunt May. He doesn't have his friends. He has nothing from what he started with. He is his own man. He is his own Spider-Man.
It's almost like okay. This is basically a reboot.
Yes, that's why I said if we
kind of like frustrating.
That's why I said if we never saw another solo Spider-Man movie in the MCU, I'd actually be happy. Or not happy, but I would be content because, not perfectly, but to me, this movie does a pretty decent job of wrapping up a lot of things and leaving us like almost like a blank slate.
You know what this movie reminds me of, kind of? It reminds me of, or the trilogy of these Spider-Man movies remind me of. They remind me of the new Star Wars trilogy. Because it seems like they go in one direction, then they make a fatal error, and they try to like fix that error in the third movie. It's to the movie's detriment. Like the core plot of this movie, of I'm going to create a spell to make people forget me, is the worst thing about this movie. because it raises so many questions they cannot answer. And though they do their best to do so, it's not good enough because it's writing around a flawed idea. And they do some good things with that, but you're still writing around a flawed idea.
I mean, I do give him kudos for trying to write one of, or base off of one of the most polarizing Spider-Man comics in history, which is, I'm trying to remember the fucking name of it, but it's like a day once lived or something. I can't remember the name of it, but similar ideas. But in any case, Heather, I'm going to throw it to you. I mean, the ending of this whole thing, woof.
Yes, because you know what? As soon as we get to him in the apartment with the new suit, what do we see? The opening of the fucking Spider-Man game. He's in his apartment. He's got the police scanner on his phone. He hears a crime going on, gets his suit on, and jumps out the window. Where have I seen that before? Oh,
don't know.
Right.
Don't know
it's a video game plot line. It's not a video game plot line, and would be better suited staying a video game plot line in my mind.
Agreed. I mean, this is why this is presumably the last one, because this leads you right into the video game where we get Kingpin.
Which is what we're also playing. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The last thing I'll just mention is a very, for me personally, frustrating mid-credit scene where we see the universe-displaced Eddie Brock and his symbiote companion Venom sitting at a bar with a talk with a bartender about other superhumans and the Blip. While pondering how to protect this new world, the duo is swiftly transported back to their universe by Doctor Strange's spell, unknowingly leaving a part of the symbiote that on the counter when he leaves, with the idea being is, yes, it was Tom Hardy, referring to the Venom that we saw from the Venom and Venom Carnage movies that were produced by Sony, also being sucked over into this universe. And again, another frustrating mid-credit scene here. I'll let Basement and Heather have the floor on this one.
They tried unsuspecting bartender in a tiki bar, presumably somewhere in Florida, with how Tom Hardy was dressed, is gonna become the next symbiote, meaning he's gonna be the next Venom, going after Spider-Man while also trying to find Doctor Strange so that he can get the entire story straight. What?
I don't think that's where they're gonna go technically. My worry was because this whole thing has kind of cleared up some of the movie for me. Especially the whole like forgetting Spider-Man thing. My worry was like symbiote was Conor. I think you're frozen time.
Did it work?
Okay, just double checking here. I think we are back in the saddle of things. And just make sure that we got everything all back up and running, and I'm just gonna twist my hat to know if we're back up live. Let us know in the chat, guys, if you can hear us or see us. Sorry about what's that?
We're back.
We're back. Thank God. I literally was just telling them that like I closed one fucking tab on Google Chrome. That's all I did. That's all I fucking did. And apparently that's all it took to fucking crash everything on the entire stream. So sorry about that. Anyway, we were talking about the shittiness that was the end of the mid-credits scene, with bringing Tom Hardy on as Eddie Brock and leaving behind a piece of the Venom symbiote. Basement and Heather, I'll let you guys go first.
I think you actually, I think I was talking about the fucking symbiote. You had mentioned that like it was gonna take somebody from Hawaii or the fucking Florida or wherever they were.
Florida, because he looked like he was in a tiki bar in Florida. I mean, I know there's tiki bars in New York too, but if you remember from Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, that it only took that tiny bit of symbiote to take him over and make him Venom.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's if they assume to take the same thing.
Okay.
I don't think I'm just gonna go back to the fucking Venom movie. That symbiote traveled between individuals because they couldn't find someone that jived with it.
Right.
And oh god. What? And it's just, so like I think that's going to be the case here. And I originally hated this because I was like, okay, if you're gonna go the whole 9 yards and get a bunch of the Sony people to fucking be in a Spider-Man thing, you probably should go with Tom Hardy being someone that kind of needs to be attached to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, the less I care about how bad. Like, I don't think it's as bad because I also thought in this universe, getting rid of Tom Hardy means it's going to attach to fucking Flash Thompson, whatever. I think his name's Thompson. Flash, whatever.
Yes.
The then I'm like, I don't want to see that guy play Venom. Good God, no.
Yeah. So,
but everybody forgot about him, so that won't happen.
So take your fucking pick as far as what's gonna fucking happen with this, right? I mean, like I said, at this point in time, as of this recording, this episode or the stream. There are no other plans for another solo Spider-Man movie in the MCU. At least there's nothing been rumored. There's nothing announced. Nothing yet. Is there still a chance we could get a Spider-Man 4? Yes, but it seems like that Sony is trying to reel back in the Spider-Man franchisees back over to their side. I've even heard rumors they might bring in Andrew Garfield and do another Amazing Spider-Man 3. Take your fucking pick as far as what's happening with that right now. I know that there's a Kraven the Hunter movie coming out and a Madam Web movie coming out, but as far as Spider-Man on their own, nothing is set in stone. What could this mean for the symbiote being now over in the MCU? That again, take your pick. We could end up not seeing Spider-Man for a long time until maybe either Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars again, where he's donning the black suit, the black symbiote suit. I mean, it's fucking, take your pick. I think that they did that just to kind of leave the door wide open for other potential stories and other possibilities. I personally.
Honestly,
what's that?
With the amount of money this fucking movie made, you're gonna see another Spider-Man movie. It might not be immediate, but the next iteration will be him working at the Daily Bugle. I don't think you're gonna see him donning the black suit until the second or third. The Venom symbiote will be Venom first before it's him.
I don't know about that. I think what'll happen is that you'll see Spider-Man again in Secret Wars donning the black suit because that's where he got it for the first time.
Oh, they're gonna have to. That movie better be 17 hours long.
Probably. Da-na-na, so I mean, it was just more disappointing because Tom Hardy was just there for a fucking cup of coffee, and then it's like, well, now you're leaving this. It's like, well, now what the fuck's gonna fucking happen? But other than that, the only other scene that we got was a literal trailer for the next Doctor Strange movie, which we will get to in a few weeks. But other than that, that was Spider-Man No Way Home. A lot of ups, lots of downs, lots of fucking characters, and a lot to digest and unpack. So with that being said, I'm going to throw it to Heather this time. Overall thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home, and what would you rate it out of 10?
Overall thoughts, again, I didn't hate the movie, but it's yet another middle ground movie for Marvel in general, and Spider-Man for this universe. I mean... it took so long for it to get to the point of, okay, things are starting to make sense for 5 seconds. And then it just whips around. It doesn't make sense anymore. It's still entertaining. It just doesn't make sense anymore. So...
Welcome to the multiverse saga.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the problem when you introduce time travel and then also introduce trying to erase people's memories. But... we're going to get what we're going to get because they have all the money and they're like, fuck it, let's some more Coke and get on the road.
Fine by that.
But as for my rating, I cannot go any higher than a 6.5 with it.
That's fair. Mr. Senior Basement, are you in the same boat there?
Rating wise, I will end up around there. I actually think the movie is... I think the last Spider-Man movie was better written as a movie. This movie is just written like I could imagine chimps. Like it relies so heavily on nostalgia, and like when the movie does get exciting and fun, it's a combination of nostalgia, quips, and using movies they don't own to hit emotional beats. And it's like, I don't know.
I mean, when you put it that way.
Yeah, the first half of this movie is a fucking mess. I think a lot of people, and the hype didn't help it. For me, if you saw this movie in theaters and you were one of the first people to see it, you will like it a lot more than I did. If you watch this movie a year later, knowing a bunch of people are going to show up and think there's a plot that makes fucking sense, you're going to be disappointed. I'm with Heather. I give this movie a 6.5.
You started going like decimals. I'm gonna fucking kill you. So, for full disclosure, at this point going forward, I have seen every Marvel movie up now at this point, the Roundtable, in theaters the day they came out. So I saw this one when it came out. I saw Doctor Strange when it came out. I saw Thor when it came out. And you bet your fat asses, including mine, I'm gonna see Black Panther when it comes out. So.
On the FOBA.
So. I will admit that both Awandi, Baseman, and a few others in the chat too also said like there absolutely is a fundamental difference between experiencing the movie in the theaters versus experiencing it at home or whatever. That does contribute to it as far as the entertainment aspect and what you take away, what you retain, and whatnot. So I think that's probably why I rate it a little on the higher scale. I'm not gonna lie and say that it's a perfectly written movie. Fucking no. And there's a lot of, you heard me mention just here on this stream, so many like little things here with like consistencies and plot points that are just like can get a little fucking infuriating. That being said, I feel like when this movie does stuff right and does it well, it is, in my opinion, so good that it almost trumps all the bad stuff. I'm not saying it does it to everything, but to me, the good stuff almost far outweighs all the bad stuff of this movie, in my opinion. I also do agree that the second half of the movie is a massive step in the right direction compared to the first one, where the first one felt like almost like a bad Saturday morning cartoon episode almost, where it just like, we're just going to go and catch these villains. But then when the stakes got raised and literally when Aunt May died, that's when it got better. That's a sentence. But that's kind of, again, it's the whole like, pivot turn, shit hits the fan kind of moment. I'm still putting this up there at like a 7.5. I'm going to put it up there on the higher side. Me personally, I felt like it was clearly a love letter to Spider-Man. I do agree with the whole balance, like I said before, of new fans versus like catering to the old fans and the diehards. But I think that it still did a pretty good job overall of finding that balance. Again, I felt like, especially the emotional moments for me personally, far outweighed any of the negative stuff. I was mentioning earlier that there were two scenes I got choked up with. The first one was Aunt May dying. The second is when Peter actually hugs the other Peters right before he runs off. And, see you guys. Are you in pain? Absolutely. I got stabbed. Cora also says she likes the movie too, so shout out to Cora too in the chat. Anna Rue is joining us. So, but I still rate it pretty high. But that's just my opinion. Want to hear what you guys have to say about Spider-Man No Way Home. So let us know in the chat. Let us know. The poll here said 50% of the people said it was kind of thumbs in the middle. 40% said thumbs up. 10% said thumbs down. And 0 said they didn't like it. So maybe we'll do some more polls in our community tab here on the channel. But that's going to wrap it up for No Way Home for Spider-Man. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and appreciate checking us out here on the YouTube channel or on your favorite podcasting platform where you can listen to us. Basement, Heather, any last-minute tidbits before we wrap this one up?
I did realize something. I had watched the Doctor Strange multiverse movie before I watched this one, which might also like equate to my dislike, because people were like, hey man, this movie is like, it opened the door for the multiverse, then it's gonna go crazy. Then I watched Doctor Strange and I was disappointed with what that gave me, and I'm just like, there has to be a reason behind so much love back here, right?
We'll rewatch in a few weeks.
I don't think anybody should really say it's terrible, because it's not. The writing is terrible, but the writing is part of a movie. It's not the entirety of the movie. And the movie does a lot of things that are right.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things about this movie, in my opinion. Cora, real quick in the said, she said, not a big fan of Spider-Man and the high school stuff, but I love the Doctor Strange aspects and the awesome way they did Spider-Man's meeting the other Spider-Mans. I also saw Doctor Strange First Basement. Aru said, hey, did Spider-Man build a home finally? He technically rented an apartment, so he never fucking rented a home or bought a home. Federico says 10 out of 10, and Cora's like, it's better than She-Hulk, which,
I mean,
we'll get
I'm taking shits that are better than She-Hulk.
There's still one episode left to go, but Heather, any last-minute tidbits before we wrap this one up?
No, just not really looking forward to having to rewatch the first 3 episodes of what's next.
Oh, come on. It's going to be so much fun. So that being said, thank you all for tuning in for another episode of the Marvel Roundtable. When we come back, we are going back to Disney Plus, and we're actually going to be doing a review of the very first show that started when we actually started the fucking Roundtable, as we take a look at a different origin for a new type of hero across the sands of Egypt, as we experience the backstory and history of one Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, and the mysterious creature known as Moon Knight.